You guys already know this is the main one tapping in all the way from H-Town, Houston, Texas. I'm here with my boy T.A.G.
T.A.G.
T.A.G, very nice, very evil.
Yeah, that's T.A.G shit.
The only thing we're gonna do is take over, baby.
Free fall as I dive through the kaleidoscope in my mind. No rope up to climb. Gotta remind myself that I'm fine.
Oh, what it is, what it was, and what it do, T.A.G Nation. It's your boy 2x2 ScooterRay. Make sure you say the full name. And I'm here with this supersized edition of NXT.A.G, or very much so a hot NXT.A.G, because I'm going to be talking about Halloween Havoc and, of course, the fallout, which being NXT Tuesday. But if you're new here or if you've been here, the way I like to do it, I like to weave it within the show. So if you hear me talk about the matches from Halloween Havoc out of order, it's because I'm weaving it in with the order of how the show itself went. But coincidentally enough, they did give a recap of Halloween Havoc, but once again, I'm going to go into it like this. Your main event of Halloween Havoc was Richard Saints defending that NXT championship against Trick Williams, and these two men had a nice little fight. And I'm gonna say this, more than anything, not only do I feel Trick Willie is ready for the main roster, if they don't make Trick Williams a star, and I'm not saying, you know, he has to be in the title picture or he has to win a title immediately, but showcase this man. I feel that they dropped that ball and they dropped that gift in Carmelo Hayes as of right now, because I don't see how they mess that up. But when I tell you that Trick Willie is a very entertaining superstar, they need to do what they need to do to make sure this man is protected and just killing it. But let me rewind. But a good back and forth, good moments here and there. And I hate that I'm about to say it this way, but of course, this is being a more believable match between Saints and Williams than Saints and Femi. You know, yes, there's a size disparity between Trick and Saints, but it's not like Big Diesel over going against Saints. So I'm going to assume that apparently the Tornado DDT is Saints' finisher now, because that's what he used to beat Trick. Yeah. So I'm assuming that Tornado DDT is his finisher. I don't know if they don't want him to do the Rochambeau anymore or what, but I guess now this is his finisher. So yeah. Just yeah with the yeah. But I bring that up because, like I said, Saints does retain, and the show opens up with Trick just flipping out, wilding out, throwing a temper tantrum. He's in the production truck yelling at the production people like, why are y'all showing this footage? Y'all playing with me. Y'all playing with my name. I don't think y'all know who I am, blah, 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 blah. And he kind of takes a page from the Death Riders playbook, because literally he's all the way in the production truck and the cameras follow him from the production truck all the way to the arena. And then he just goes on the mic and starts just going off. Eventually, it led to Saints coming out there and being like, fam, you sure talking a lot of shit from somebody who just got their ass whipped come Saturday. I know that kind of loosely rhyme bars. And you like, you just got your ass whipped, and then of course it leads into a scuffle. Of course, it leads into a good old fashioned scuffle, which they had to get pulled apart and everything. And trust me, people, the scuffle lasts throughout the night. I like at least 3 different, if you're counting the beginning, at least 3 different times it was a scuffle between Richard and Trick. So, but yeah, then we get to our first match of the night. It is the finals to the Speed Tournament. And remember, the winner is taking on El Grande Americano. So we got Jasper Troy taking on Axiom. As Axiom said in a little vignette, it's the classic David versus Goliath, Speed versus Power. But I'm going to show him that, Power, that Speed can beat Power. Nah, that ain't happened. Now, granted, it did last to like the last 10 seconds, but Power won out and Jasper Troy picks up the dub. So not next week, but in 2 weeks, we will get Troy versus El Grande Americano. And the reason why it's in 2 weeks, because they did announce, I think they announced it last week, but for sure this week at the arena at Madison Square Garden, November 11th and November 18th. I think those was the 2 dates. It's either the 11th or the 18th or the 18th and 25th. Might be the 18th and 25th now that I say it. But they're pretty much doing like a 2-week residency and at the arena at Madison Square Garden. It's not in Madison Square Garden. It's the small arena. So it's like a 2-week residency, and it's pretty much NXT Gold Rush. And pretty much they are announcing that. Hold on, I'm gonna tell you the exact dates. Okay, it is the 18th and the 25th. And pretty much championships from WWE, a la NXT, Evolve, and technically AAA. And of course, TNA will all be defended within these 2-week shows. So the 18th and 25th is when, all of this kicks off. So there you go. That's what we got. That's what we got to look forward to when it comes to NXT Gold Rush. But yeah, so in 2 weeks, I think they said Troy is going to take on Grande Americano. Now, from unusual circumstances, Soruka got injured during her tag team title match with Charlotte and Bliss, and they don't know the timetable of when she'll be back. They don't know the timetable, of how everything goes. So she did wanted to relinquish the North American Championship. Zarya talked her out of not doing it, and she was like, look, you fought hard for that belt. Let me pretty much defend it for you. And it was like, come again? Like, what we talking? Like what we talking? And it happened. Zarya defended the championship against Blake Monroe. Now, this is the thing I hate. I hate when wrestler partnerships happen like this, or wrestling groups or stables, because it's like when the other wrestler is serving as the manager for the evening, it's like they lose all of their powers over wrestler. Because I understand Soul having a leg injury and this, that, and the third. But if Blake Monroe, in essence, goes out there and starts beating up Soul, Soul is still a wrestler. She won the North American Championship in a ladder match. She can take a bump. She can take a thump. If the crutch gets kicked out from under her, and she goes down. Let her just lay there, out there. Handle your business, then go check on her. But no, Zarya being the friend, Zarya being the, oh no, my friend. She does it. She gets caught with the glamour shot on the outside, throws her in the ring, glamour shot again. 1, 2, 3, and new Women's North American Champion, Blake Monroe. But that led to a discussion Zaruka was having backstage, and pretty much Ava was asking Soul, hey, what about the Speed Championship? And she was like, you know what? Since I don't know my timetable, I'm going to relinquish it. And she was like, one day I'm going to come back and get both of my championships that I didn't lose. So, of course, when she said that, Zarya storms out. More on that later. We get a vignette of the Cullen and pretty much Tatum. Sorry. We get a vignette of them coming to the ring. Then they get to the ring, and it's pretty much Tatum. My bad. Sorry, I didn't forget my own rules. JC Jane took on Tatum Paxley for the NXT Women's Championship. Now, midway through the match, the Culling and Fatal Influence got kicked out. The Culling comes back to the ring, and eventually Izzy has the championship, and it looks like she wants to hit Tatum, but then, of course, Tatum moves. She swings it at JC. JC ducks. When Tatum moved at the same time, JC was doing the rolling encore. Then it led to Tatum hitting a cemetery drive on JC in 1, 2, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, and new Tatum Paxley is your new NXT Women's Champion. So now to fast forward, she comes out and she's pretty much celebrating and pretty much saying that she wants to be a fighting champion. You know, after 4 years of being in an NXT, she didn't think this was going to happen. She's just elated, excited, and everything. And she pretty much says that, you know what? I want to give women chances. And she said, you know what? Since we didn't get spin the wheel, make the deal at Halloween Havoc, I'm going to spin the wheel tonight. Only this time, there's a bunch of names on the wheel. And whoever it lands on, they get in the title shot. So, of course, Izzy is like, hey, you shouldn't be doing that, blah, 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 blah. Kind of Spears and Nico's are in the same sentiment, but it's really Izzy. Now, when she pulls the sheet off, Izzy's name isn't on the wheel. And then Spears goes, hey, Izzy's name isn't there. She's like, of course not. Why would Izzy and I fight? I don't want nothing to come between us and our friendship. So you see Izzy over there with the stank face. And Spears is kind of looking like, you gonna let that happen? Oh, so you gonna just let that ride? All right, cool. I ain't trying to stir nothing. I'm just making sure you're gonna let that ride. But like I said, Izzy over there with the stank face, and it lands on Lola Vice. So Lola Vice and Tatum Paxley for the NXT Women's Championship later on. Then we get a moment where Trick was backstage, still looking for Richard. He bumps into OTM. Then, you know, he's asking OTM where's Saints, and they like, what? And he just keeps storming off. Then we back there talking, and it shows Ren and Kendall talking. Kendall is defending her Evolve Women's Championship against Lash Legend, pretty much because, you know, she's kind of taking up and sticking up for for Ren, and that's what we roll into. For the Evolve Women's Championship, Kendall Gray, Lash Legend. I understand they're seeing something in Kendall Gray, but I hate that this had to come in the way of Lash Legend, because of course they was making mention this was her first defense. So it was her first defense as Evolve Women's Champion. So it's like, okay, we know she's not going to lose this championship on her first defense. So it kind of already gave you the okay, whatever. And I'm not saying Kendall Gray is a bad wrestler or anything like that, but Kendall Gray versus Lash Legend is literally almost Jasper Troy in Axiom or Richard Saints in Obafemi. It's like there's a clear size disparity. There's a clear size in just build. And you really want me to believe that Kendall, who's on Evolve, because technically, if we're looking at the way the dynamics are, Evolve is the development of NXT. So if it's Evolve, then NXT, then the main roster, you're really saying Kendall took out Lash. So I don't know if it's a we're not seeing it for Lash or what, but Kendall does get the win, and it was like, okay, yeah, whatever. Just keep it moving. Just keep it moving. And then we do get a segment of Tatum and Lola backstage talking, and she was like, I appreciate the chance, I appreciate the shot. And then pretty much Lola was saying, I know we're friends, I know we're cool, but just know when that bell goes ding, I'm about that action, and I'm a walk out champion. And Tatum was like, hey, make no jokes, make no mistake, I like you, Lola, but I'm keeping this belt, fam. I worked too hard to win it, and I'm not gonna lose this belt, fam. Then we roll into Tavion Heights, Miles Bourne, and I know how this match came about, which they were, if you remember last week when I was saying they were both in there kind of complaining to Ava about Josh Briggs and things, and they pretty much gave them a match versus each other, and it was like, was it like them fighting each other to see who was going to fight Josh Briggs next type of energy? Like, I don't know, like it was kind of a weird thing, but you know, former NQCC, you know, they brothers, they got love for each other. So at first the match was kind of like a filling out process, and they did get into it, but not in the way that it was like, oh, they out there really beating the shit out of each other type of energy. But it was a solid match. Eventually Josh Briggs does come out there. He was on commentary, and you know, shout outs to Jaeger Bombastic, but a DIC. Now, for those new and for those who don't remember, DIC, which Jaeger coined it from, I think, Simon Miller, distractions, interference, and confusion. So, of course, Briggs causes some distractions with Tavion. You know, he kind of gets into it, but eventually Miles Bourne does get the dub over Tavion. Then it led to Briggs and Tavion kind of fighting each other, and it goes out to the back. And while Miles is still in the ring, Trick Willie comes out there, hits Miles in the back with a chair, and he's like, you know, waving on Saints. Saints come out there, another brawl. Also, at Halloween Havoc, we had for the North American Championship, Ethan Page defending against El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. in a Day of the Dead match, which is pretty much an anything goes match. Just they had some kind of spooky lighting. It wasn't a bad little like no rules match. It like midway through the match, Ethan Page did rip the top part of Dr. Wagner Jr.'s, or as Page called him, Dr. Wagner the Third, because technically it would be Dr. Wagner the Third, mask, and you know, he had to fight that way. But ultimately, it did lead to Page throwing some powder in Wagner's eyes. Then he hit the twisted grin from the top rope through a table, and that's how Page retains. So catching up from that to now, Ethan Page, Chelsea Green, and Slagent Alba was backstage. And this weekend, Page and Green are taking on Mr. Iguana and La Hedra, I think, for the mixed tag, for the AAA mixed tag titles. And they was pretty much, Chelsea was like, I could be champ, you could be champ. And then Paige was like, yeah, we're gonna do this. We need some security. And for reasons, Thea Hale just walked by and just goes, I believe in Joe Hendry. And Joe Hendry just pops out of a trash can. And he's trying to give some advice to Chelsea and Ethan. And Ethan is like, no offense, but I don't take advice from people who just kind of pop out of trash cans, fam. So yeah. And Paige, Alba, and Chelsea walk off, and then Thea Hale doubles back singing the Joe Hendry song, and then Joe Hendry's like, take me away, and she literally wheels him out in the trash can, and it was like, what? Like what? Okay, cool. Then we get to the Lola Vice Tatum Paxley match. I mean, come on now. If you listen to me do reviews before, it did not feel like a title was going to change hands, especially since Tatum just got it. But it was a pretty solid match. Midway through the match, they did show that Fatal Influence pulled up, and JC is pissed, talking about, I know she ain't giving shots out, and after I got screwed out of my championship and blah, 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 blah. So midway through the match, Fatal Influence does come out, beat up Izzy Dame, and then they eventually kind of surround the ring, and then Tatum and Lola kind of go back to back, and then it leads into a brawl. So the match ended in no contest. But from that, next week we are getting Fatal Influence versus Tatum Paxley, Izzy Dame, and Lola Vice. So that is going down. And then, like I mentioned earlier with Blake Monroe, she has a vignette saying that, I'm the new North American champion and how it looks good on me and all of these things. And pretty much she says that I will have my first defense in a city that's worthy of me. And she pretty much says one of the 2 weeks at Gold Rush, she's going to defend her North American championship. So, yeah. Then we get, circling back, a very fun tag team match. The youngest in charge, TNA X Division champion Leon Slater, the young OG Javon Evans taking on Mr. Iguana with Layeska and La Parka. Very fun tag match, full of some high flying, full of just some fun action. Leon and Javon does get the dub, but it was a very fun tag match. And if I remember correctly, it was the opening match. So you definitely started the show off fast and furious, puns intended, and very fun tag team match. But like I said, the youngest in charge and the young OG does get the dub. And last but not least from Halloween Havoc, you had Dark State by the way of Osiris and Dion taking on Broken Matt Hardy and Brother Nero in a Broken Rules match. And if you are familiar with Broken Matt Hardy and Brother Nero, I was ecstatic. But ultimately, it does lead to Dark State. It was pretty much a 4-on-2 the whole time. The Hardys did have to do some things to kind of dispatch Cutler and Saquon. But ultimately, it does lead to Osiris and Dion getting the tag team titles back. I want to say it was Matt that they had in like a Doomsday device with a table behind, and Dion Lennox jumps from a ladder and hits the Doomsday device through a table, and 1, 2, 3, Dark State is back champions. So all of that tied because NXT Anonymous called Javon backstage talking to Leon and pretty much saying that, hey, I can't wait till you get done with your X Division stuff because, you know, we got Dark State to worry about, you know what I'm saying? We coming after them tag team titles of Dark State. And then, of course, that leads to Dark State coming back there surrounding Javon like, fam, you talking about y'all taking tag team titles, but you know what I'm saying? You here by yourself, big dog. And pretty much next week, Saquon does challenge Javon to a one-on-one. So we're going to get, you know, finally a member of Dark State in a one-on-one match. So we're going to get Saquon Sugars taking on Javon Evans next week. So excited to see that. Then there was a segment of Zaruka leaving and Zarya's telling Soul, I'm going to enter that speed tournament so I can win that speed championship back for you. And it's like, why do they have Zarya just, I mean, I get the notion that Soul had to relinquish and technically lose these belts. I get it. But the fact that they have Zarya in such this, like, she has to suck up and kiss up to Soul is kind of crazy to me. But whatever. They get interrupted by Fatal Influence, and they was like, shut up, nobody cares about your problems. And then the fact that they just like submitted to that. And it was like, what? Then the Fatal Influence is pretty much they kind of talking about, you know, the 6-woman tag match next week that I mentioned, which I said Fatal Influence taking on Tatum, Izzy, and Lola. And that was it. Then we get to our main event of the evening. Kalani Jordan is defending her TNA Knockouts Championship against Jordan Grace. Now, was making this match interesting for me is I like how Jordan is still NXT, though she's the knockout champion, but it's like they sort of kind of treat her as if she's TNA. Like, it was kind of weird. Excuse me. It's kind of weird, but yeah, it's like yeah, though she's NXT, but they still treat her like they didn't get. Granted, I understand JC was champ, but they didn't treat JC like she was the quote unquote op adjacent. But like I said, I get it. But pretty much, Jordan Grace is like, look, I didn't held that belt 3 times type of energy. And they didn't have a bad match. Now, once again, of course, if you watch these things, you would know it did not feel like a title was changing hands. And to further the story and to further the chaos, the closing moments, once again, DIC moments, distraction, interference, confusion, Saints and Trick are fighting. So of course they're interrupting the match, but Grace and Jordan are still fighting. Like they're like, yeah, we're not gonna try to let this mess us up, but we're still fighting. Eventually, Saints and Williams winds up in the ring fighting, which causes once again confusions and distractions and minor interference. From that, Kalani goes over, picks up the TNA Knockouts Championship, and when Grace walks up on her, she clocks Grace with that championship. It wasn't it was an accident or no. She looked, hit her with that blood. Ow. 1, 2, 3, Kalani Jordan is still your knockouts champion. And the look on her face was like, yeah, I did it. What you gonna do about it? Then, of course, Saints and Williams are still fighting. They go through that little wooden piece that's off on the side that a lot of superstars kind of, their version of the barricade break when they go through that little wooden stage thing. And then when they're coming, kind of stumbling out, Ava comes out and was like, look, I am sick of this. Y'all two want to fight each other so bad. Y'all two want to do this so bad. I think she said in 2 weeks or in 3 weeks. I can't remember if this is going to be part of Gold Rush or not, so I didn't hear the time frame. But apparently we're going to get Richard Saints, Trick Williams, NXT Championship, last man standing. And that's pretty much NXT. That's pretty much NXT and Halloween Havoc. See what I'm talking about? How I just kind of mix and blend it all up like that. But, we're on. So what's going to be interesting is we know for the most part, Deadline has those 2 Iron Survivor matches. So we know at some point the women's championship and we know Saints and Williams are going to happen at Gold Rush. So it's going to be interesting that they're going to be booking Gold Rush because it's pretty much a champions thing. Like I said, champions from Evolve, AAA, TNA, and NXT will be defending all on these shows within 2 weeks. So we know that's going to be happening all the while in the background. We're going to get Deadline happening. So we're going to get qualifying matches for the men and women's Iron Survivor matches. So it's going to be interesting to see how Deadline is going to be booked and what other matches are going to fall on Deadline outside of those 2 Iron Survivor matches. Like, are we going to get championship matches, or is it going to be kind of more grudge matches? So it's going to be interesting to see how this next roughly month looks, because like I said, we got Gold Rush the 18th and the 25th. Then the week after that is going to be, let me make sure I got the timeline right. So Tuesday the 18th, Tuesday the 25th will be Gold Rush. Then Saturday, December 6th is going to be Deadline. So I'm kind of intrigued to see how all of that is going to end up working out and playing out, since they're going to be simultaneously booking Gold Rush and Deadline together. But hey, that was NXT, and that was Halloween Havoc. And whether you out there loved it or hate it, don't forget to rate it. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Make sure you tag that like button, tag that comment button. Leave us a little comment down there. Let us know what you think down below. Make sure you tag that tag that share button. Then tag that subscribe button if you haven't already. Then, of course, last but not least, you got to tag that notification bell so you can be notified for all the videos we bring. Shout outs to the Tag brethren. And thank y'all for tuning in. Love one another. Love yourself. Take care of one another and take care of yourself. And until next time, you beautiful, beautiful people out there, don't forget to tag out. Peace.
Free fall as I dive through the kaleidoscope in my mind. No rope up to climb. Gotta remind myself that I'm fine.